We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by GrokTALK.com, New Hampshire's conservative website. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone-stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for 2 hours of news and opinion you can only get from GrokTALK.com. Welcome to June. It's June in New Hampshire. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
This is GrokTALK, brought to you by GrokTALK.com and the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. Today, our guests include Steve Kenda, who's already here. Gary Daniels will be joining us in about an hour to talk about his race. And Senator Bob Smith will be on the phone in the final segment to talk. We have senator candidates all day. It's Senator Candidates Day at GrokTALK. We mentioned in the pre-show that we have some new writers at GrokTALK.com, and we wanted to announce who those were. Go ahead.
Yes.
Announce.
Yes, we are birds who like to flock together, and then, of course, we then go ahead and ruffle other people's feathers.
Somebody said we were throwing rocks or something.
Rock chuckers
from the outside or something.
Yes, but New Hampshire State Representative J.R. Hole is joining the staff staff such as we are.
Staff. S-T-A-P-H.
the writers at Granite Rock.
We're infecting the new media.
Yes, so I'm looking for. I mean, we're not growth. Yes, we have put up a number of his.
Change you need an antibiotic for. Yeah, and who else?
I'm trying to keep interrupting
You're taking too long. Just tell them. They know who they are.
Kimberly Moore.
Kimberly Moore and J.R. Hole have joined us effective last night.
Yes.
Or this morning.
Yes.
Did you set them up already? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so
they are set up. They will.
So now I have to go keep an eye on them?
Yes, you
All
do.
Right. Okay.
Since you are the editor, the only one I can afford.
And not that I can. I work really cheap.
Well, I give you the
in exchange for sometimes noticing and correcting other people's mistakes, I get to run this whole program.
That's right.
It's a good deal.
Yes, Kimberly Moore writes over at theexaminer.com, covers a lot of the politics, especially from the center of New Hampshire, goes around to different events, and she fits in well because she annoys people.
And she's an independent, so.
Yes. Yeah, she's not a Republican.
We need it. No, she's an independent.
Yes, that's what I said.
So now we can say we have an independent voice for New Hampshire.
One.
We
have a Democrat voice for New Hampshire, too, when Ed Nail comes on.
Ed Nail, he writes for us as well, and he's a Democrat, registered Democrat.
We're tripartisan.
Oh, that sounds weird. I'm not sure I want to say that ever again. Anyway.
Does that mean we have to get tricorner hats?
Yeah, maybe we do.
Steve's sitting there going, what have I gotten myself into? I warned you.
I keep up with Kim's missives on Twitter, so I think she'll be a great addition.
Oh, yeah, because this is what she does all day, And
yes, the most prolific conservative Twitterer in New Hampshire.
Yeah, she goes and brawls with everybody, so.
Yeah.
I just don't have that kind of time.
No.
I can put up the content, but I'm not going to chase them down on Twitter. And I'll throw it up there, and then they can bat it around like a cat with a piece of yarn or whatever. I don't care, but I'm not going to. I'm not gonna every 5 minutes go Twitter. I don't have one of those phones either, which is the other problem. Because if I had one, I'd always be doing this. I have a stupid phone.
And folks, his cup of coffee is still rather full.
It is, too. I've been up since the dog got me up at 1:30 this morning.
Poor dog.
And then 4:30, and then I had to get up at 5:30 and help load a car to bring a bunch of stuff to a Girl Scout yard sale. And then I went back home and got ready for the show and hauled all my stuff up here.
Oh, if it's any consolation, I had my 35th college reunion last night.
Oh.
Down in Boston, fraternity brothers flying in. And obviously, that led to some...
That's a little bit more... I don't know what the word is I want to say. Well, it's definitely probably a little more activity than a Girl Scout yard sale.
And we have a caller.
Which of our 2 fans could this be?
It's going to be line number 1.
Line number 1.
Line number 1.
All right.
And we have line number 1.
Hello.
Hello, Skip.
And it's Grok's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
All right, you guys are distorting a little bit on the feed out to the live stream. I just want to let you know that. And you can bring me if you want, or you can ignore me, whichever you prefer.
That's his department over there. He's live stream.
Okay, I'm adjusting.
I'm podcast. How we doing, Mike? Is that better?
Let me turn the volume up a little bit.
Oh, so you... Okay. We're not going to say anything now. You can't tell.
Well, I will say that while you were celebrating your 35th... which college, by the way?
That's better. I had to wait a few seconds for the live stream because it's running about 10-15 seconds behind, of course, so I have to turn it off, else my brain will get fine.
All right. Hang on a second. Okay, so anyway, I'm sorry, Steve.
MIT.
MIT. Oh, congratulations.
It was actually is fortuitous. I came up through the public school system, but of course this was back in the 70s prior to Jimmy Carter's Department of Education.
Yes.
So public education was still very high quality, and was fortunate. I ran into a math teacher. I was in New York at the time, and applied to Rensselaer and Stevens Institute and had been accepted there. And he said, "Well, did you apply to MIT?" I said, "What's MIT?" So went through that process, and turned out to be the best of all worlds. So.
Did you ever participate in one of those yearly pranks that we always read about from across? I went to BU, the little school across the river.
Well, I did note on occasion during a Harvard football game that sometimes things would occur during the Harvard.
Oh, okay. You just dated yourself.
Yeah, it was more a Cambridge rivalry with the folks down the street.
He did just
there.
say 35-year reunion. Was it 35?
Yes,
yeah.
I
mean, so what's 35, college?
Do the math, and it goes way back.
Yeah.
Hell, you youngsters.
That's funny. Okay.
So anyway, it was a late night for both of us, and so if you really want to catch me off my game, now's the time to throw the hard balls and watch a neophyte really stick his foot in his mouth.
All right. So you are running for state senate.
Yes.
You are challenging current sitting state senator Nancy Stiles.
Yes.
Who is still running as a Republican. I can say that.
I have no idea why.
I can say that because it's me. You don't have to agree, but anyway, obviously there's a reason why you're running.
Sure. To start with the high-level picture, talk about some of the old and the new. One of the reasons I looked at running for governor 2 years ago was that I had a new son, and being a bit of a student of Zen, I mean, spending most of my time trying to live in the present, all of a sudden the future becomes important when a kid arrives. And I just remember the opportunities that I had arriving in the state when I was 23 and taking a look around at both, not just the state, but at the federal level, what had changed, and the future just did not look as good for him. When I think about the new, and then, of course, yesterday's D-Day celebration, I think about the bloodshed and the lives sacrificed for our right to vote, this freedom, liberty, our land and milk and honey here, and what the greatest generation left us. And I'm at the tail end of the baby boomers, but yeah, we were the me generation, and I put a lot of it on our shoulders that we let the country get to the situation that it's in right now. And I want to be able to look my son in the eye and say, I didn't cut and run. I tried to do what I could. I tried to play a part in making government, what it was meant to be, by the people, for the people.
I'd say that's a good explanation of what. I mean, I really didn't start getting politically active until I had 3 kids, and post 9/11, I was watching. We had Afghanistan, then we had Iraq, and there were all these things going on, and I was listening to the left, and I was listening to the right, and I started reading all the founding documents, and I started looking at what our country was supposed to be about, because all these people were saying things about what was going on, and I really couldn't say one way or the other whether it was supposed to be that way or if it was supposed to be different. So I had a public school education. I graduated from high school in '81, so I had only a little tiny bit of Jimmy Carter's Department of Education, but I mean, I can go back and look at the things my teachers told me, and I can see the liberal slant. I can remember things they said that we just took as gospel that were completely wrong, even then. And, looking forward at what I've learned since then, up until then, pretty much the entire culture lied to me about my relationship with government. My whole life up to that point. So I was a little pissed off,
Understandably.
And I said, well, I'm going to find out what it's supposed to be, what it was intended to be, and then I'm going to develop some principles and decide what I think my relationship with government should be, and then I'm going to talk about it. And that's kind of how I ended up here. It was a slightly longer journey, but...
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's similar, except I waited till after my kids, immediately get out of the house because they were the concern. So, but it is a case where, in my case, I'm a double Blue Star dad, where one son spent a tour with the Marines in Iraq, another one did a whole year's tour in Afghanistan with the 101st Airborne.
Let me thank them for their service.
Oh, thank you. And they were willing to put their lives on the line. And yes, both of them lost friends where they were. And so I look at what we do here is not we're too old to be shuffling around the way that they did, but we have.
I'm too old to get myself here in the morning. Are you kidding me?
We at least can still put fingers to keyboards. So that's where we bring our fight to. And I think I'd have to agree with Steve. I wouldn't say that my education was all that bad. It was pretty good growing up in the 60s and high school in the early 70s. But there's so much more that I've learned since. And you look around, and I have this propensity of putting up the videos, like Jay Leno's jaywalking. He walks around, or other people walk around to ask what I think are basic questions, especially the young people, and they have no clue what their history is. And I think it's because of that we're in the state that we're in. And you go, either is it the teachers, and I'll go out on a limb, because I can, as Steve alluded to, we can say stuff that other people can't. I used to have to help mentor some of the kids at BU that were going in through the School of Ed. I spent an hour and a half trying to explain y equals mx plus b, which describes a slope line on a curve. on a graph. She just didn't get it. Most teachers nowadays are in the lower part of their high school classes and in their college classes, and these are the folks that are trying to teach our kids. And then you've got the Bill Ayers effect, where the radicals saw that they could not foment the revolution back in the 60s. Again, I'm one of the boomer generations, and I readily admit we are the worst generation for America ever. Self-centered, narcissistic, think we know it all. We said don't trust anybody, and now we still don't trust anybody but ourselves. But there's also that hate America stuff that we've seen come in. We've seen the progressive...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Some of that, I think, with people just a tad older than us, Skip. The folks that graduated in the 60s are the ones that have done the most damage. There's a lot of self-centeredness in the generation immediately beneath us, the ones that in their 30s and 40s now, I think are only slowly waking up to what they're losing.
Oh, they certainly will be. They're, as they sit in their parents' basement going, what the heck happened here? They're going to learn what the progressive view of the United States is going to give them, which isn't very much. But anyways,
I think we should look at the millennials. They already realize they're screwed, and they're trying to figure out what to do about it.
Hey, we're going to take 60 seconds. It's a commercial that I think Steve will like, and we'll be right back. Hang on.
She tried to make us believe she was a fiscal conservative, but State Senator Nancy Stiles has been deceiving New Hampshire taxpayers. Like a wolf in sheep's clothing, she claimed to be one of us, pretending to blend in, but all along voting like a liberal Democrat. She voted to raise your gas tax by another 23%, taking a bigger bite out of our wallets every time we're at the pump. And oh, how she drooled at the opportunity to vote to expand Obamacare, which will result in higher taxes and longer wait times in the emergency room. And now the Senate wants to pass a bill to prevent us from criticizing Senator Stiles' vote. Call Senator Stiles at 603-918-0553 and tell her that we're on to her wolf in sheep's clothing routine. Tell her to stop pretending to be a fiscal conservative and start voting like one. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
GrokTALK. All right, we are back with Steve Kenda. We have Mike on the line. We have music in the background. And we have commercials about Republican state senators who are voting for things they shouldn't have. And this is GrokTALK. And we'd like to welcome you back and remind you that you can download the iHeartRadio app. You can check us out on iTunes and TuneIn. You can also get the Stitcher app or check us out online. And also at Spreaker.com, Ustream, and YouTube, and
Blip.tv.
Blip.tv.
Yeah, that's an older one that I used
That
to
is one,
use.
yeah. We don't really ever mention that one.
Yes.
Well.
And if you can't hear us on the radio, just pull out your smartphone.
Pull out your
go
smartphone.
to GrokTALK.com and listen to the live stream.
Yeah, or you could download any of those apps if you already have them, and you can either look for GrokTALK or my name, Steve McDonald, because I signed up for him, and you should be able to find us and listen to this program, and all our past programs.
Yes, but at the same time, if you go to Granic Rock, just turn on the live stream as you're
Or you
whizzing
could
along.
go to GranicRock.com and turn on the live stream and just listen to it right now.
And you can see Steve
And you can
right
see me,
now.
which Steve does not like.
Okay, we'll flip.
Okay.
And you can even see the annoying doctor selling his mouthwash product because the Ustream interrupts periodically.
Oh, yeah, you get the ads.
Yeah, well, one of these years...
Great, I'm talking at the camera, and now there's a mouthwash commercial. Fantastic. I love being on video. This is awesome.
One of these years, I'll upgrade our account to more of a pro account. But
You could donate to GranicRock.com, and then we could afford to do that, and you wouldn't have to watch commercials on the live stream. There's some motivation for you right there.
Well, you were asking earlier just about why I was running. I was trying to give you a couple of the higher level platitudes. I think there's also some more of the baseline issues. For example, when I was looking at running for governor, it apparently wasn't my time as far as the party was concerned. And so go out, prove yourself, do something, and let people know exactly who you are, how you vote. I mean, I've been around New Hampshire for 34 years, and for 32 years I've been creating jobs. And I think as far as my primary opponent, at least speaking with the voters in the district, that she does a fine job with constituent services. I'm not going to, I wouldn't cast any disparaging comments on the work that she does as a senator. My concern is more around the voting. I believe in less government and less spending, and I'm not sure that the votes that my opponent had placed reflect the same philosophy.
Well, certainly not with one of our pet peeves, which is the tremendous expansion of government, both in cost and intrusiveness, and in fostering more dependence on government, which is the Obamacare Medicaid expansion. I have included her in that group that I call the rogue Republicans, only because we really do look at the GOP platform. For as much as we bash Republicans as well as Democrats, we look at the Republican platform that says this is what a Republican should be. This is how a Republican should be acting. And her voting for Medicaid expansion, which takes people off of some of their own self-reliant insurance and puts them on the government dole for Medicaid.
And it's important to point out that she's one of the reasons why the Republicans even tried to do a deal, because she was always going to vote for it. This has been known from very early on. Stiles and somebody else, Odell, were already on board with the Democrats' plan. So there was a big shuffle to try and come up with some kind of anything that wouldn't be as bad, because they wouldn't have the votes to stop it.
You remember there was an attempt there by the Democrats on the federal level to more or less make Obamacare look like it was a way to alleviate people from the burden of working. You now have the freedom and luxury to sit home and eat your tacos and fish and chips and sit and watch
fun employment,
Oprah and Wheel of Fortune all day long. And I don't know if that has anything to do with a reflection of their policies. I mean, we're looking at right now historic lows in the actual number of people that are working. We've gone from 65% to 62% levels of people working. And
labor participation.
The U6 report is virtually double the reported unemployment rate, so it's like 12.2 or 12.3%.
Now keep in mind, if everybody's out of work, zero unemployment.
All part of course, and of course then we have more victims.
You have to wonder how much longer the government will continue to send out the U6 and U12 numbers, because
I'm surprised, Mike. I'm so surprised that we still get them, because they pretty much, spun everything else, and we know that the executive branch has no problem with manipulating the bureaucrats in their cabinets to come up with good spin. So why they continue to allow those numbers to come out is beyond me. Apparently, they still think they can successfully spin that.
Right, and so I think there are some Republicans in the Senate here in the state that believe, well, if we can get more money from the federal government, that's a good thing. I think they've forgotten all about the 10th Amendment.
Well, I think they've forgotten about the $17 trillion in debt.
They've forgotten where the money comes from. It comes either out of our pocket directly, or it comes out of the inflation of the currency.
Exactly.
And it's important to them that they not have to vote to be responsible for that. So if they can just point at the federal government and go, oh, those guys over there, which is why I know you said votes. Really, at the end of the day, the votes are the only things that matter. It doesn't matter if your constituent services are good. You could be the best at constituent services there is. If your votes are bad, I don't care about the rest of that stuff, because the only reason you're there is to vote on bills. And that's it. And you're there to protect your constituents from abuse by your government, not the other way around.
And I think
making promises to
the senators have a heavier responsibility to protect their constituents from the madness of the masses, i.e. mob rule by the House.
Yeah, that's a good description of our house.
And I think you spend too much time, whether it's D.C. and Potomac Fever or even up in Concord, all of a sudden it becomes more and more difficult to not either appear compassionate or be responsive to lobbyists and special interests. It becomes more and more challenging to say no. And that's why you need fresh faces, and I think, frankly, why you need more business people up there, because they have more experience saying no. We can't do that anymore. We're 18 trillion in debt. We've got 70 trillion, another 70 trillion unfunded liabilities. That between the two of them encompasses all of the private wealth that we have in this country.
And we have a couple $100 million problem now in New Hampshire.
With the MET?
Yeah, which they're still trying to work out. And, thank you for at least trying to fix it a little, before you all walk away, which half of the Senate is doing. But
that brings up the other problem, and I'm going to ask you, Steve, about this. We had another Republican, Roush, in the Senate, who decided, this is a great time to raise the gas tax on all of us. Basically, it's not war on women, it's war on the poor and war on the middle class. And they decided to do that because they're crying, we've got to fix the roads, we've got to fix the bridges. It's like, to me, it sounds like a misunderstanding or a complete ignorance of what is the proper role of government and the setting of priorities, because it's easy to pass an additional tax. Democrats are all for that because they believe government should be in every single cranny of your life, and to do that, they need lots of money to make government bigger. They could have taken the harder way at doing this by saying, let's fix the highway fund and plug up the leaks, and if we have to take more and harder votes on funding those things that we are now shutting off from that highway fund, so be it. So my question is, put it bluntly, stop the leakage, or are you fine with the tax?
Oh, there's no question. Actually, there's no question. I'm not fine with the tax, not at all. And I'm actually surprised that the Democrats are actually supporters or drivers of it in the first place. If you think about what could be more regressive than hitting people on the margin, as far as and ahead of Memorial Day in the driving season in the first place. Yes, I find it shocking that there are Republicans that have gone forward, particularly when what you know about the highway fund itself, where it's 1/3 of every dollar that goes into it is not being spent on roads and bridges. I go back to the bigger issue that there's it's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem. I come from the approach. People ask, well, what are you thinking? What are you talking about? I turn to my wife and, okay, so maybe we have a little bit more discretionary income, but I say, can we cut back 5%? And I think, are people in the margin, that's going to be a little bit more challenging if they have to cut their budgets back 5%. But now we're talking about state government. Are you telling me we can't find, and across all of the departments, 5% on a department level? That's $270 million a year. And at $270 million, there are a lot of things that we can do. And one of my goals is to see, we have to create a better environment for companies to be here. Right now, our tax policy is not competitive with Massachusetts, which is, we think about what would be the ultimate disgrace.
Isn't that a terrible thing to have to say?
Say that again, Mike?
Isn't it a terrible thing to have to say? Yeah. Our tax policy is not competitive with Massachusetts.
Yeah, that's
it's embarrassing.
That bears repeating loud.
It burns.
It has to be embarrassing. We talk about the New Hampshire advantage in trying to get companies to work, bring jobs up here. We are demographically hurting ourselves. We know that we have an aging state population right now because we don't have new work, new jobs, new opportunity for our kids that are graduating out of the school.
I have a solution for all of that.
Pray tell.
So Steve,
it's the O'Brien plan.
Yeah, so Steve,
we'll talk about it more in the next segment. Go ahead.
If our problems are caused by immigrants from Massachusetts causing the tax problem that is, as you call it, burning, could we say that mass holes burn?
Oh, we could. Yes. Yes, we could. Even on podcast and live stream internet radio.
I have one of my big concerns here is that we wind up in another situation with 2010 where there's a lot of energy in the electorate to make change, and we're successful as I believe we will be this year in 2014, but without a change in the corner office as well. That we went into another 2 years of voter frustration, saying we tried, we believed in you, you didn't get anything done. You either have the House and the Senate, and we're still all we sit is with a veto with Governor Hassan at the corner office.
I agree. We talked about it last week briefly, and then afterwards we were with Jeff Chittister, and we were talking about how we need to have a governor
a Republican governor.
And she's doing such a good job of a low profile right now. I mean, a little more than ribbon cutting. She's leaving the country, right, to avoid
she's heading to Turkey.
Couple
right.
months of.
Yes, we've had all kinds of fun with that.
It's the Lynch plan.
It's the Lynch
Be
plan.
nice, be nice, and be invisible, and you won't be the one they hate when the election time comes around.
I'm hoping somewhere in the next 3 or 4 months we can actually get a picture of her and Jean Shaheen together. See how that goes over.
Well, here's the deal. You said that it's about low spending or less spending, and I put up a post earlier this week. Guess Gretchen Gardner never met Mel Thompson. Low taxes is the result of low spending. Let me read this to you. I'm at the breaking point, said Gretchen Gardner, an Austin artist, that's Austin, Texas, who bought a 1930s bungalow in the Bolden neighborhood just south of downtown in 1991 and has watched her property tax bill soar to $8,500 this year. It's not because I don't like paying taxes, said Gardner, who attended both meetings. I have voted for every park, every library, all the school improvements, for light rail, for anything that will make this city better. But now I can't afford to live here anymore. I'll protest my appraisal notice, but that's not enough. Somebody needs to step in and address the big picture. Well, here's a clue for the clueless. Just roll back and listen to yourself of what you voted for. Big spending, big infrastructure, big employee costs, big retirement costs coming down the line in years present. Can you connect the two between your tax bill and all those votes?
To paraphrase that line out of Casablanca, I'm shocked to find taxes going up.
So let me ask you this, Steve. Is it a case of low spending is what we should be aiming at, or is it a case of having the wrong priorities? And I will preface that by it is out on one of our really early posts, like probably 2007, that Maggie Hassan, when she was a state senator, as for much as she crowed about the last cycle and now that the educational system here in New Hampshire is not getting enough money, she took $2 million away from UNH to put into adult diapers.
You're going to have to answer that question in the next segment, which is actually your segment, by the way. And then we'll talk about the O'Brien plan again, which I think is the cure-all for what ails New Hampshire. Mike's on the line. I turned his mic down so that he wouldn't try to talk while I was leaving the segment, because he loves to do that, and we're proud of having him. I miss having him here. I really do, but it's nice to have him on the phone. So, Mike, you can listen to me talk and you can't respond, but you can get back at me next segment when I turn your mic back up. This is GrokTALK. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy, and Mike Rogers is on the phone, and Steve Kent is in the studio, and we'll be right back.
Tried to make us believe he was a fiscal conservative, but State Senator Jeb Bradley has been deceiving New Hampshire taxpayers. Like a wolf in sheep's clothing, he claimed to be one of us, pretending to blend in, but all along voting like a liberal Democrat. And oh, how he drooled at the opportunity to vote to expand Obamacare, which will result in higher taxes and longer wait times in the emergency room. And now, Senator Bradley is leading the charge to try and pass a Senate bill to prevent us from criticizing his vote. Call Senator Bradley at 603-569-4208 and tell him that we're on to his wolf in sheep's clothing routine. Tell him to stop pretending to be a fiscal conservative and start voting like one. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. You're listening to GrokTALK.
Grok TV.